Today we're going to be talking about wholesaling. We have, where's Luke?
He's over there.
Oh, Luke, sorry. Luke Miller is with us today with My Simple Land. He's going to kind of give us a different perspective on wholesaling. He flips land. I wholesale traditionally as part of what I do, so I'll be talking a little bit about that. And kind of just in general how we usually run these meetings. What's really important to us is who's in this room. So what we like to do is we'll do a quick intro of ourselves. Luke will introduce himself. And then we got a lot of people here, so I don't want to take up too much time with this, but just run around the room real quick, introduce yourself, tell us what brings you here, maybe what you do. Try and keep it short and sweet so that we can move through. Then we'll talk a little bit about wholesaling. But what we're here for, again, is the networking. So what we want to do is be able to get through the topic as quick as possible. And then we want you guys to mingle and meet each other and, know who's in the room. So without further ado, I will let Amanda go ahead and start with her introduction.
I always forget what we're doing. December, we had a party, and in January, we got snowed out. So I'm Amanda Slate with Keller Williams Realty. And I like to buy, sell, invest, and do all kinds of stuff. So we're working on some projects right now. We have some off-market deals that I've been working on this week, and I do a variety of things. I want to give a shout-out kind of why we're here. One of our investors, Barbara Samuels, she owns this building and the building in the front. And she has a building. It was the former Sam Steed Realty that she wants to sell or rent out. She's done an amazing reno at the bottom, and she's looking to rent that area out. If you guys know anyone looking for a commercial rental, it does have apartments at the top, so it would be a great income producing property. And also Edwin Wright owns the Manorline Back 40. He owns the Manorline Farm in Bentonville. He's also a big property owner. He does have apartment buildings and a trailer park that are in the town of Front Royal that he's looking to move. He's really focusing just on his kind of food and industry. He bought some trees there on the corner that you've seen he's been remodeling. And so he definitely doesn't want to be a landlord forever. But I wanted to give a shout out to both of them.
Cool. I'll go, Luke, and then I'll let you go, Luke. Sorry to jump in. My name is Mike Capello. Sorry I didn't introduce myself earlier. I am a wholesaler, rehabber, buy and hold property owner. I do a little bit of everything here in Front Royal and also in parts of Northern Virginia. I actually live in Leesburg, but a lot of business out here, trying to obviously build the network out here. Grew up coming out here to the mountains and to the river, and so I got a lot of great memories here and looking to build more and build a community here. That's kind of it. Luke, I'll let you go. We'll kind of try and keep it on the brief side.
Yeah, I'm Luke Miller. I live here locally in Front Royal. Full-time investor, buy and sell land, dirt. Been doing that for the last 5 years. So if you have any questions on valuing land, buying, selling land, if some of your land comes into your pipeline while you're looking for like fix and flips or something, I can help you value that land. I can help you make offers on it, or just wholesale and buy it. So, yeah.
Super valuable. Thank you, Luke. Ms. Morris.
Good evening. I'm Amber Morris. I'm the senior member of the Front Royal Town Council who adopted the short-term rental code here in Front Royal. I'm also a residential mortgage lender, and my niche is anything that anybody else can do. I do construction loans, multi-unit flips, hard money loans.
Thank you.
Sarah, I'm a licensed Virginia realtor local to Front Royal, as well as a short-term rental manager. So if anyone here owns a Airbnb, VRBO, anything like that, and is looking for management or just has any questions, feel free to come chat with me, or of course anything to do with real estate.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Kaylin. I just came on with Mike as wholesaling for money and then also investing.
Kaylin.
I'm Tom Smith. I'm very new to real estate. I don't have anything going on yet, but offer on my first deal. I'm waiting to hear back from. So
Congrats.
I'm a father of 7 and 5 boys, so I'm just looking to build a future.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being here.
Where are you from?
I am licensed agent as well. I used to work
For real estate. On my own, trying to do the same things, fixing things back into that. So just retail.
Good.
I'm Jesse. This is my husband, Jonathan. R&R investing small investors for small multifamily, 5 to 20.
Awesome.
I'm Karen Angel. I'm new to investing. This is my first one here to buy, place, and rent out. So it's anxious to learn about the topic.
Cool.
Gage, I own Envision Group. We've got Envision Tiers, our material retail store. The shop tied in with all the suppliers, Ferguson, name it. We also do design and build. We also do fix and flip for investors. We've got a Class A license, contracting firm. I have a one-stop shop.
Yeah, you want me to put this on?
Really structured to work with investors. And we also buy and hold, buy and flip. Kind of the mix of everything.
Thanks, Gage. And a mean foreclosure auction bidder. Watch out.
Just our store. We're originally in Bucket County. There and Flipper and legit rental property. A lot of good in town from Royal. Buying some literally.
Thanks, Joe, for coming, man. Good to see you.
I'm Lisa. I just buy condos. Pawn shop.
Cool. You guys want to go here?
I'm Thomas. This is my girlfriend Callie. I've been wholesaling for a couple of years now. Looking to further that into this year. And then aside from that, our goal is to just build basically just real estate.
Cool. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming.
I'm Pam Doors. I am also a real estate agent. I'm with Keller Williams. I'm licensed in Virginia and West Virginia. We have my husband Rick. We have our first short-term rental. We've been building the house. It's taken us about a year and a half, and we just started renting it. That's about 3 weeks ago. We've already had 5 bookings, so I feel like I'm accomplished. Our goal is we want to buy 1 a year for the next 5 years. So
Awesome.
we really have no clue other than what basics that we have. Really forward to getting to know all of you.
Cool. Thank you guys for coming.
My name is Raphael Smalls. Brand new to real estate investment. I'm currently a contractor. I feel like I was sold a lie. Thought I did everything right. But you can't achieve the American dream just work for somebody else. So my goal is to work for myself and build that generation of work for my family. I'm brand new, so I think wholesaling, I think I agree that is where to start.
Mm-hmm. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming.
Hey everyone, Woody Mirage. I'm in Woodbridge, Virginia. I made the trek out here. A little bit more about wholesaling. I'm brand new. I want to try and get my first wholesale deal in 30 days. Hopefully that means partnering with someone to do a JV.
Let's go.
Before that, I was owning and operating an Airbnb in Shenandoah, so I'm pretty familiar with there. I just want to be financially free to help.
Awesome. Thanks for making the drive.
Yeah.
Let's talk after.
I'm Devin.
I live locally in the area in Lake Frederick. Anybody knows where dinosaur land is? It's basically where you can see on there. My wife and I are looking to flip our first deals. Currently buying property, long-term renter, but looking at properties. So I'm going to be talking with a lot of you in the room. We're looking for contractors, we're looking for lenders, and agents as well. So not to mention wholesalers. So getting in. But thanks, Mike.
Thanks for coming out.
Nick Cosley, not Williams, McLean. Relatively new to the area. Got to meet Mike here not too long ago. I'm an agent investor. So I just thought anything conventional stuff. Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming, man.
I'm Jack Hauser. I'm a commercial agent with Realty One in Winchester. My wife and I have 10 rental properties. Started them about 5 years ago. I'm also a financial advisor. I do that, but I worked really hard to get with a financial firm that would allow me to do both. So, I can hear everybody else.
Awesome.
We have a lot of new faces, so we just want to talk about Grid a little bit. Grid is a global real estate community built for investors by investors. We're not gurus. We are a group of real people doing real deals. And that's why, even though I'm an agent, I like lots of agents because it's collaboration, right? So those deals get done off the market. Even though right now you would say it's a seller's market, like why would someone sell not on the market? But how many Grid wins have we had even in the past month that are off market deals? When I first joined Mike to do Grid, my husband was like, explain to me what it is. And I told him that it was like Fight Club. Like, we didn't really know what it was, but he wanted to be a part of it, right? He really likes Fight Club, so that was my way to explain it to him. Our mission is to connect, learn, and collaborate with like-minded people interested in building wealth and creating impact through real estate. And I think the wholesaling item is really big. You can click next because it's kind of off the market money. But hey, you don't have to spend your own money, right? And while we talk a lot about off the markets, we actually had a pretty big Grid win from the Casa team this year. One of our agents, she made $100,000, wasn't it, on a wholesale deal?
Yeah.
That was on the market. So as an agent, she went in, she saw value. It was a distressed property. She was able to put a contract on it and then still wholesale the property to a client, and she got just a wholesaling fee for $200,000. So it wasn't a bad day. Plus, she got a commission.
Yeah.
You're like, how does that happen? So where we're going? Our vision is 1,000 communities, 2,000 leaders, 10,000 financially free, 100,000 millionaires, and 1 million members. And all of us kind of collaborate. We all bring different skills. I mean, right now, we're meeting with a lot of people doing subject twos, and a lot of people don't understand those. So Mike's that guy.
Yeah.
Expert on that. We're here to teach a lot of stuff. We've gone through, tell us about yourself. We are not experts. We're not CPAs.
Yep. Do your own due diligence. We're just here to talk and meet and give our opinion on stuff. So that's that. And we're also taking some video. We'll probably take some pictures and stuff. So if you don't want to be videoed or pictured, take a hike. No, I'm just kidding. So hold on, go back. So how many people know what wholesaling is? How many people are familiar with wholesale? Okay. Who can tell me briefly what wholesaling is? Anybody in the room want to give it a shot? Tell us what wholesaling is. Nobody? Phelan?
I would say creatively selling on.
Okay. Sure. Luke, why don't you kind of give us your definition of what wholesaling is and how you apply it to land? Let's talk about.
Yeah.
Wholesaling is, you're essentially the Costco of real estate. You're buying for less than market value. You're turning around and you're selling it to investors like in the room for less than market value. And you're making your money on the delta. You're leaving money on, or you're leaving meat on the bone for the next person. And you're making your money by how well you can negotiate that price down. So,
Yeah. In a nutshell, you find an opportunity. Maybe it's a distressed property. Maybe it's not. It doesn't need to be a distressed property, but you go and put that property under contract for $200,000. And then your job at that point is to find an end buyer who's willing to pay $220,000. And you're just varying the opportunity with the end buyer. And the way you make money is by collecting the fee, which is that delta there, like Luke alluded to. We'll talk a little bit. I mean, that's kind of like the rough, this is an even more basic definition of wholesaling. Find a good deal, put it under contract, sell the right. So when you put a property under contract, you now have the right to purchase that contract. And all you're doing is selling your rights. So you don't have to close on the property. You don't have to have any money. All you have to do is find the opportunity, have a contract with the seller that says, I'm willing to pay this amount. Now I have the right to purchase that property. And you're just taking those rights and finding another investor or even a retail buyer that's willing to pay cash and say, hey, I've got this property here for $225,000. You have it under contract for $200,000, and you're now making a $25,000 assignment fee for the rights to purchase that property.
And that's why the room is so important. A couple months ago, I had my photographer come in, and he afterwards was like, "You guys just need to do this on a podcast. Why do you need you guys?" Right? So then we had, I actually was talking about grid in my sales meeting. I had an older agent who, unbeknownst to me, was a couple days away. I knew her really well, so when I was talking about Mike and I shared my stuff, she called Mike. Mike was able to kind of save her, but then it came back and my port's on who do I know that can buy this house right now.
Yeah. We've done several deals already this year within the group, and me personally, as my wholesaling business is concerned, if there are opportunities out here, this has already happened, like we said, a couple times, Gage, Joe, I want to bring opportunities to you guys. So if I have an opportunity, it's not something that for whatever reason we're not going to buy it, whether we've got other projects going on or it just doesn't fit what we're doing, I'm going to bring that opportunity to this group first, like 100% of the time. I want to share those opportunities with you guys. That's what we're about here. So, deals are hard to come by right now. Last year we bought, I would say like probably 60% of the deals that we found here in Front Royal, we bought and kept. We bought 7 properties here in Front Royal that we held on to. But the hopes is that there's going to be more opportunities, and we want to share those opportunities with the group. And then from there, I'll branch out if I have to. But we want to bring value to you guys. This kind of just talks a little bit about the numbers. I already kind of touched on this. Same thing.
I wanted you to talk about Novation, just because it's similar, but can you explain that on the recent property?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Novation and wholesaling to me is really just an avenue to find deals, really. I don't really consider myself a wholesaler. Wholesaling is an exit strategy for an opportunity. Novation is another one. Sub 2 is another one. We can kind of talk about that kind of stuff. But
Novation, you were talking about a lot recently, but it's not something that we were covering.
Yeah, so a novation is basically, it's more of a creative strategy. In a novation, I'll give you a real life example of a novation. We don't want to get too far off topic here, but we just put a property under contract with the seller in foreclosure. The seller needed a certain amount of money to get out of the house and pay off debt and get themselves out from this situation. So my cash offer was not going to be sufficient for him to do that. So what we did was we essentially were JVing with the seller in innovation. So what they're going to allow us to do is pay them a little bit up front to get the ball rolling, call it earnest money, call it whatever you want to call it. And then we actually move them out of the house up front before we close on the property. We go in and do some repairs on the house, and then we act as essentially power of attorney for them by hiring an agent or somebody on my team, for example, to then list the house and sell it. And then when that's all done, then they get paid. And innovation, well, all innovation is a replacement of contract. So when you do innovation, you have the contract with the property owner. And then the novation piece is actually when you find the end buyer, you replace or novate your purchase agreement with the new agreement between the end buyer and the property owner. So that's innovation in a nutshell. Again, there will be topics on creative finance, and we'll talk more in detail about it. So we're talking here about ARV. This is kind of how do you determine? So let's talk a little bit about how do you determine for land. This is interesting because I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially in this area for land. So
Yeah.
Luke, how do you determine your purchase price or your offer price on a piece of land?
Yeah. So after repair value is essentially what you can sell that property for once it's repaired, once it's up and running, you got it staged, it's on the market, it looks good. What you think you can sell that for minus maybe, I don't know, 95% of what market value is, just in case you have to lower the price. You take that and then you multiply that by 0.7. That's what you guys do, right? Land is very similar. I look at sold comps, I look at for sale comps, and I come up with a value that I think is realistic for that piece of land. And maybe we can get down into the weeds on that some other time, but essentially I'm taking that price and maybe 50% of that. If I have to put work into it, like, paint, flooring, renovations, mine is like road clearing, brush clearing, surveys, perk tests, things like that. There's hard costs in land investing too, but you take those costs that you have to put into the property to make it marketable, and you minus those out. Then you minus out your fee, what you want to make on the deal, and that's your purchase price, right?
Who in here has actually wholesaled a property? Let me ask that. 2, 3. How do you guys, does anybody want to volunteer some information on how you guys figure out your offer price? Is it always 70% of ARV minus renovation, minus your wholesale fee, or how do you come up with your?
It's not always that.
Right.
So I follow Grant Daniels.
Okay.
He has a pretty good formula. Most of that, but throughout the years, I've kind of formulated formulas. What it's going to cost to renovate, what it's going to cost to buy it, and then obviously you always start with pay. You have to look at that property. What it's going to sell for after it's all fixed up. So I have it's like a 2-step process. When I look at a property, I immediately will kind of just run very numbers to see if it's working.
Right.
And then if it qualifies for
That's
that,
this, right? 70% of ARV, right? That's how you get your that's your back of the napkin math, right? Formula.
We have a sheet for that, so if you need help or you see a property, we're happy to help you with the process. And Jake and I were working on one this week, and I told him, even a tax assessment is a little higher than IARV, but I think economic factors that are impacting the property, like railroad tracks or location. So I'm going to come down because I know.
Yeah, there's a lot to touch on here. And one thing I did want to mention, if anybody has questions or anything while we're going through this, please feel free to raise your hand or jump into the conversation. We want it to be interactive. I don't want to just be standing up here talking to you guys the whole time, talking at you the whole time. So please ask questions as we go. Hold on, go back for a second. There's a couple other things I want to touch on there. So when we're talking about wholesaling, this is if you Google how do I determine my wholesale price, my offer price in wholesale, you're going to find this like 95% of the time. And what we're talking about here is the 70% rule. You'll see that. So the rule is you take 70% of the ARV, of the after repair value, what it will be worth once it is repaired. You take 70% of that. You subtract the renovation cost out of that. So you need to understand renovation costs. And I think we might get into this in later slides, but while it's up and I'm thinking about it, you subtract the renovation cost from that, and then you subtract your wholesale fee from that. So if you're wanting to wholesale property you want your fee to be $10,000 or whatever, $20,000, you subtract that. So, all that being said, that is a very loose way of determining your offer price. The best way to determine your offer price is to actually go out and talk to buyers. Mm-hmm. What is your buyer pool want to be buying these properties at? Do they want to be at 70% of ARV minus renovation, minus your fee? Okay, then this rule makes sense. But a lot of people will be willing to pay more, especially in a competitive market like this. They may be willing to pay 80%. They may be willing to pay 85%. You look at some of the bigger wholesalers in the area, Express Home Buyers, Home Buyers of America, Four Brothers, some of the larger ones in here. You're not going to see a deal that they post below probably 85% of ARV. I mean, those deals are all tight. But there's people out there that are willing to do it. So he's connecting with those buyers, figuring out who's buying at what. Start with your end buyer in mind.
I'm happy to go with you. I mean, I typically can go in a house and I know cosmetic, like how much flooring needs cost. Mm-hmm. But like on Friday, did we go? Like I pulled gauge in because I already knew going in because they had some foundation issues. They had a lot of drywall cracking. They got a price for $75,000 drywall. And I'm like, that's going to be out of my scope, so I need a contractor. So we're happy you guys need a contractor. Like you're going to go work at a house because it's hard to do. You got to do it quick sometimes. The more people they talk to, mm-hmm. So make it a one and done.
Anybody have any questions around? I think you build relationships with people and let them know what you're doing and what you want to do. Find yourself a good contractor. I mean, are there people out there that might charge you for that? I would say probably yes. But you want to build those relationships, bring people value, and say, hey, I'm looking at this deal. I'd love to work with you on it. You mind coming out with me to take a look at it and let me know what you think on price? Done that with Gage 20 times out of the probably handful of deals we've done. He's probably tired of me dragging him out the properties, but we built that relationship, and so.
And most of the things, like I said, the people in this room could go with you and know. It's I
sure.
knew they were like, oh yeah, we've already jacked up the foundation, boards, drywall.
Yeah. Another good question to ask in your process of building relationships with contractors, because obviously that's an important piece, is nailing down a price per square foot. Then you can just say it's a 1,700 square foot house. I know it's going to cost me $50 a square foot. At least you have a rough idea. And then if it's really an opportunity and you get to the phase of putting it under contract, you can always bring your contractor out and say, hey, let's take a look at this one more time before, or let's take a real look at it one time before I write the offer, because I might need to adjust my numbers a little bit. But I use price per square foot quite a bit, just for doing rough math up front. Just talk to your contractor about where they fall. I think there's a range probably. But any other questions around this piece formula? No? Okay. Is it legal? That's actually a question we get quite a bit, right?
Is there a lawyer in the room?
Yeah.
Good.
And actually, most AR contracts say that they are assignable.
Let's say they are not assignable.
No, they say that they are assignable with permission. It actually says that it's assignable. Even if I'm writing, like if I write one for myself or my clients, I'll write my name or a size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the name. So.
That's 90% of what mine is. Like, I leave that in no matter what. Everything I put under contract, I'm assuming I'm going to close myself, but I always have that in my contract because you never know if you're going to create another partnership entity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're going to bring a partner in and they say, oh no, I'm required to create my own LLC. Well, if you don't have that in your contract, you can't assign that contract without a novation. And I would say that that's how you explain it to the seller. You don't explain it as though, oh, I'm going to take this, I'm going to add $20,000 to that, and then I'm going to push it to someone else. You say, yeah, and this is my personal opinion, you should be completely honest no matter what and say, I have every intention to close this myself, or me and a partner ourselves. And that's how you get around that is if that raises questions, which it does maybe 50% of the time for me, that's why that's in there.
Yeah. I think he brings up a really good point. Wholesaling is, in my opinion, not everybody is like this, but in my opinion, is all about transparency.
Yeah.
Real estate investing is all about transparency. When you're working with sellers, be upfront, set the upfront expectation that, or what your plan is. Like, I might buy the property myself. I might find a partner that's going to buy it. I might, have a few other strategies that we can employ, but setting that upfront contract with the seller and being transparent about what your ambitions are, what your goals are, how you do business is huge for building trust, building rapport. And then they're not surprised when they get to the closing table and you've assigned the contract to somebody and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Or what is this fee or whatever? Like, just being transparent. And yes, it is legal as long as your contract is assignable. I think that's really what's important.
I think we talked about this week. Rob said, I think you were like, it takes me other people to get this done. Like, I'm going to need money people to get this done. So you're going to see other people on there. You may see some fees. The important part is the bottom line. So even if you're doing traditional real estate, my number one thing is that seller's net. Like, their bottom line, they honestly don't even know how much commission I'm getting at. Because they're just like, I'm going to get $147. Great.
Yeah.
So as long as you're like, this is your bottom line, no matter how many people have to bring the deal, or how the money person I have to bring in, or I have to, account for these repairs, as long as they're getting that bottom line. That's
Good. Do I need a real estate license? There is one question. No is the answer to that. There are states actually where they're starting to change some laws around wholesaling. In Virginia, you do not need a license. And yes, you can wholesale with a license. I am also licensed. I don't tell people a lot, but I'm also licensed in Virginia and West Virginia and Maryland. But as an agent wholesaling, you just need to disclose just like you would disclose as an agent. It's one of the first things I tell people. I am a licensed agent. However, I primarily use my license for my own real estate investing purposes. I am not acting as an agent in this transaction. Here's my plan. Here's how I do business. As long as you disclose upfront, you're fine. Luke, do you have a real estate license?
No, I don't. A better question would be, are you going to piss off real estate agents? And absolutely you will. Absolutely you will. Sorry.
For me, it's just another tool in the tool belt. I look at all these exit strategies, and having a real estate license is just another. I don't do a ton of. I think I did 4 transactions last year. It was like a couple of referrals, and my neighbor up the street asked me to list his property. But for me, it's like I think a lot of times you'll hear people recommend not having it because then you have to disclose that to people, and then they're kind of like, well, you're an agent, but I don't understand. But for me, it's just another tool in the tool belt. It's just another way for me to help. So I can then take my license, and I don't necessarily want to list a property, even if it is a good listing. Like, I'm going to come to the seller. Yeah, that's really what I want.
I don't have my license, but I've been exploring it, and I haven't for the last 10 years I've been doing real estate. But when I come across a deal as someone who tries to get something deeply below market value, I find a lot of sellers in that middle ground where they're not willing to accept my offer, but they're willing to sell well below market value. And so I refer those people to agents all the time. And this is just like, hey, I'm passing you leads left and right, because when I ask you for something, I expect to be put to the front of the line. And so I added it up last year, and it was multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars that I passed them in commissions that they got. And as an agent, I can request part of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm exploring it.
That was the point that I was going to make as well. I primarily use my license so I can refer sellers to agents now and collect a referral fee.
Now,
I wouldn't worry about it getting started though.
Yeah.
Like you don't need it to
you
get
don't
started.
and I'm not a CPA. The advantage in TK, like I've got this young group who buy and invest. Are a licensed realtor, your write-offs are higher on your investment. So if you're just not licensed and you have an investment property, you can't write off for you to go there and crash or fix some stuff. But if you are an agent, have all these, check all these boxes, then you have a greater write-off against it. So it's like I have a farm, technically, like dogs, but I take a loss on my farm income. Now,
Your business license is cheaper too with
Right.
the
I
county
don't
Front Royal in the county.
I don't think you necessarily need to have a license to be a real estate professional, which is, I think, what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
they-
750 hours.
I'm a real estate professional without being
but
an
it's an
agent. So
advantage to get that, unless you're a lender or you're something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get that many hours. You really have to that checklist.
you have to be
and stuff.
full time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, did you have a question? Saw you raise your hand there for a second.
I was going to say, list them online. You can get over there and get into the house and inspect it real fast.
True. Yeah. True.
And working
Yeah. Camera can't see.
I'll be like right.
Okay. Good to know.
That's what over here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I give you the microphone.
I'm looking at it now. So.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
And- Yeah. Oh, as somebody that has completely done that the ass backwards way, I will agree with that statement. Like, I got licensed in the beginning because I knew I wanted to be in real estate, but I didn't know which direction I wanted to go. So I was like, oh, I'll go get licensed in every state in the, anywhere I can look. And I don't regret it, but as somebody that went and got licensed first, I would not do that. I would wait, especially if you're doing it part-time or whatever. Like, you can wholesale and start doing the activity without getting licensed, and then I would consider it down the road. But there's nothing wrong with having it. Like I said,
Well, and then a hybrid on that too, the referral program.
Yep.
You can get your license, do all the work up to the school system, get your actual state license. But instead of having it come with the broker, which will incur all those fees, pay with the referral, $10 million,
True.
$100 a year, and then when you refer somebody over to buy it, and negotiate.
good point, Nick.
Yeah, and as agents, you all should know your price per dollar. So I would say, publicity, I make $900 an hour. On buyers, I only make $3 because they be driving you around for days. Okay. But on a referral, I make $2,000 an hour. I'm just like, here you go. And like,
It's a good point.
I know what you're thinking about.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think where do I find buyers? There's a good one.
Grid.
Grid, of course. Got some buyers in this room for sure. Building a buyers list. Luke, how do you source your buyers for land? I'm curious.
Most of my buyers are retail buyers, unless I'm wholesaling to builders. And builders are really a personal relationship that you almost have to prove yourself to. So But I'd say from a wholesale standpoint, I might be in the minority here, but I think you really only need 3 to 5 like solid proven builder or buyers.
Yeah.
When I first started wholesaling, I was like, I got to have 100 people on my buyers list because, you know, it's a numbers game, right? But in reality, it's like, it's probably the people in this room.
Yeah.
The people who are investing local, who know the area, know the deals, know what to look for. Those are the people that are going to buy. And if they're telling you your deal is crap, your deal is probably crap. And so I think realistically, if anyone wants to be a wholesaler in here, your buyers are in here. Talk to them about what they're looking for, where they're looking for, and just build a list on that. And that's where you start. So that's.
We're happy to send it out for you guys.
Yeah.
If you saw the email yesterday, like I said, we sent out a property owner that has an off-market property.
Yeah.
We send out deals all the time, but if you got something and you're like, I need to buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. I fall on the spectrum of like, you know, I said it earlier, like to me it's relationships. So it's like I want to do business with people that I like, know and trust, and people in this room. And so could I make another 10 grand by having a buyer's list of 2,000 people and putting it out and starting a bidding war? You know, yeah, there's something to that, but there's also something to building relationships and sharing opportunities, right? I might sell somebody a deal and then they might come back and, you know, bring me a deal down the road. So like, I think the relationship thing holds a lot of weight too. That being said, other ways of finding buyers, you know, obviously other local there's a ton of other meetups. There's not a ton locally, unfortunately, but there are tons of them. Winchester, other areas of Fairfax County, Loudoun County, closer into the city. Networking at those events, asking people who's buying, going on just local Facebook groups or other meetup groups and just saying who's buying in Front Royal, who's interested in buying in Front Royal, collect emails, talk to those people.
Grid, and they were all in Front Royal the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah, there are a lot. I've been going to a lot of the ones locally because I'm trying to bring people into my world, not just here, but in Northern Virginia. But there are tons of people that are interested in the Shenandoah Valley areas. Yeah.
They think that it's cheaper up here. That's why they automatically think we could go out west and be cheaper. They don't realize that somebody places only one bathroom. And they don't realize it's, you know, $20,000 expense to make that second bathroom. No one's going to buy anything. That.
But that you could still wholesale them a property, right? Just assume it's a one-time purchase, right? So,
other ways you can use softwares like Batch Leads, PropStream, EMLS, even if you have access, and just whole lists of cash buyers in areas too. All of those programs will consolidate data of cash buyers, people that have purchased in cash or people that have flipped property. Reach out to their agents. Of course, agents are another great way to find buyers, networking with agents.
Even lenders, I'll be like.
Lenders.
Title companies.
Go ahead, man. Anybody know?
Are you going to be stuck?
Do you have to buy a property if you put it under contract?
I think we've proven this past month we can find somebody to buy it. Right? Gage has somebody that is going to buy a house, right? We're going to be stuck with it.
Yeah, your contract should, I don't know. I follow different places here, right? Like you probably would agree. Like,
yeah, do you have to use the Virginia Real Estate Commission's offer? Like, you have to. As agents, you have to, right?
No.
I mean, if you're doing it off.
If you're acting
off
as an
market,
agent,
off market.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no. I mean,
I get out of my contract. I can get out of my contract for any reason.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't put something under contract assuming I'm going to get out of that,
Right.
but things pop up and it dramatically changes the deal.
Yeah.
Either you renegotiate or you get out, and that should be the case.
Yeah, I would agree. Our contract always has a way for us to get out. That being said, I think, real estate, especially in an area like this, is like a tight-knit community. Even though there's a lot of people doing deals, people hear things and see things, and they know if you're a wholesaler that's leaving sellers stranded or not, bringing bad deals or whatever. Like, people are going to find this stuff out. They're not going to want to do business with you.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to make sure that you're making good offers, you've got good contracts, at least have a plan to close on it or find a buyer or whatever. You don't want to be continuously backing out on sellers on contracts or your buyers or whatever. Like, but no would be the short answer to this. You should have a way out. You should have an exit if you need, whether that's an inspection or what are some of the other things that you have that could get you out of the contract. For land,
It's like minimum 30 grand. So most people aren't going to hit that threshold. So, yeah.
And speaking of contracts too, we'll probably, maybe in the follow-up to this, I'll send out my purchase and sale, just my plain purchase and sale agreement. People want to use that for your own purposes, fine, totally public, like just a cash contract. You guys have other deals that you're doing creatively or something like that, you don't have the contracts, come to me and I'm happy to share my information with you guys.
So,
Yeah.
So I guess you're saying the point is to include a clauses in the contract that you can.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You can put inspections in there if you want. I mean, again, not highly recommended, especially in a competitive environment, right? You don't want to have a 14-day or 21-day inspection on your cash offer, or like they're going to be like, "What is this?" Like, but you should have ways out within your contract, within the language of your contract, which you want to again explain to your seller that you're working with. It's like, I'm going to do everything that I can to find this buyer, but if X, Y, and Z happens, like either we're going to have to negotiate, or I'll just pull out and you can find another, buyer. That's the way that I handle it. Yeah. Any other questions around anything we discussed there? How do we get paid? Yeah, typically it shows up as an assignment fee on a HUD. So again, let's talk a little bit about how the purchase process works, right? So you put a property under contract with the seller. You have your A to B contract, we call that, with the seller, right? So you have a contract with the seller. And in order to assign that property to an end buyer, you need to have a separate agreement with the end buyer, your assignment contract, your B to C contract. You present your A to B contract and your B to C contract to the title company and say, I have the contract for X price, they're going to buy it for this price. The difference, that's my assignment fee. Put it on the HUD as an assignment fee. That's typically how the process works in a nutshell. If there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, that's the way it should be done. I've definitely done deals where it's like, and if you're buying from a wholesaler and they're asking you to pay an assignment fee before anyone closes, don't do that. I have done that and I lucked out. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I should have never done that, but I was brand new and like, there's no recourse at that point. So definitely make sure it's done at the title company as a separate statement, line item.
There are other ways to, double closing is another one. If you're in a situation where maybe you run out of time. I did one last year where we couldn't find a buyer. We didn't find a buyer for one of our opportunities, but it was still a good opportunity. And we're kind of like, let's just close on it ourselves. We did like it's more of a wholesale really than a double close, but essentially we closed on it. I did do a double close, but anyways, the one that I'm talking about, we closed on it. We ran in there for like 2 days, cleaned it out, and just relisted it and found a buyer. Double close is different.
I'd say that's probably 99% of what I do. Where A to B, B to C, same exact thing, except instead of signing contracts, you're doing a double closing. And the one huge benefit that I see from double closings is it's a blind. And some assignments will do this, but it's a blind HUD, meaning no one knows how much you're making in the process. So if you're making $200,000, there's going to be a whole lot of people that are upset at that. And it doesn't matter if you're making $500 or $20,000, $40,000, whatever it is, someone's going to be upset if they see that on your settlement statement. And I've had people back out of deals because they were upset with how much money I was making. So with a double closing, you can still do it at the same closing table. And in fact, you can sometimes use transactional funding, meaning C will pay for A. So your B has no proceeds in the deal. And I'm closing on a deal this week where I'm bringing a little bit of money at the closing table, but it's a sole rented property, or it's a land deal. But that's the one benefit to double closings, but they're more complex than assignments, which is what we're talking tonight. And if it's like less than 20 grand, I wouldn't worry about a double closing because you do have closing costs involved.
Anybody have questions about double close versus an assignment?
Can't be as bad as when you buy a house for 200,000 and you put it back on the market for 500,000, and the buyer wants to know, well, why did you mark it up so much?
Yeah.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah,
And they don't realize the time and interest and all the work that went into it, and the opportunity.
Yeah, I had a deal that we were under contract for $260,000, and then he found out I paid $77,000 for it.
They need spike. They don't want to do it for spike. It's a lot of people.
And he changed his offer to $96,000.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's probably not somebody you want to be doing business with. Like, if you bring somebody a good opportunity and they're willing to pay the price that you've offered it to them, and then they decide they want to back out the last week because they see how much money you're making, it's like...
Yeah, and this goes back to finding 3 to 5 really good people, probably in this room, where they're like, I don't care how much he's going to make because I'm making my deal.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with him making $30,000, $40,000 per deal because there's still meat on the bone for me.
Yeah.
That's why you want to know your people you're working with, too. Because if they back out at the closing table, then you're left. Like, do you close the deal yourself or back out completely? So
I try to coach my clients if it doesn't matter what I'm paying for it, right?
yeah,
These tax records are public record, and you get that all the time. Oh my gosh, no, we don't pay that much. And now it's really popular. Like, you only paid that much in 2019.
you don't know how much they put into it, right? Like it could be $100,000. So that will come up too if you're wholesaling. Yes, for sure.
Yep. How much money do I need to start wholesaling? Possibly none. I think the reason why we're here talking about wholesaling today is because it's really one of the first important things to understand about real estate investing. It's a good way to get started. It's a good way to start building some capital to fund fix and flips or fund your first buy and hold. Low barrier to entry, little to no marketing costs, little to no hard costs, right? Like, all you really need is some motivation, consistency, a good way to source opportunities, whether that's driving for dollars or pulling lists or having your agent pull lists or having partnering with another wholesaler to pull lists or whatever. Picking up the phone, making phone calls doesn't cost you anything. Driving around, knocking on doors doesn't cost you anything. Identifying properties that look distressed doesn't cost you anything. There are ways to spend money and market and do those things, but as far as getting started, there's really no, overhead to get started if that's what you want to do. What time is it? I feel like we've been up there for a while. 7:12. Okay. We'll try and wrap this up so we can do a little network and get you guys out of here. Do I need to understand renovation costs, soft costs, ARV to wholesale? I think you should, right? You want to understand, you want to be able to see the whole picture. Now getting started again, like what I would recommend is find somebody that's doing it, find a partner, find a battle buddy, whatever you want to call it, reach out to somebody and figure these things out together, whether that's a mentor, whether that's somebody that you're friends with that's interested in wholesaling. The more you understand, the easier it's going to be to identify opportunities in your market. Anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say that gets back to having really good buyers on your buyers list, because if you trust these people, which you might not trust these people, but if you trust them, you can go to them with these deals that you do not have under contract and say, hey, what would you pay for this based on the condition that the seller's telling me it is? You'll come back and you'll say $300 grand. And you say, okay, I want to make 20 grand on this. My top line, 270. I'm going to start at 250 and see where I'm at. And that's where trust comes into this, but you might get screwed by some, unsavory people, but they probably won't be around for very long. But that's how you can do it without knowing that stuff. But if you know that stuff, that's when you can really start to make money, because knowledge is a tool.
And also the best way to get started in wholesaling is talk to buyers first. People think it's about going and finding opportunities, but what are you looking for? Like, create a grocery list. Go talk to 5 buyers in the area and say, what kind of properties are you buying? What are you looking to pay? What percentage of ARV? Then you know exactly what you're looking for. All you have to do now is go find 3-bed, 2-bath houses that are 1,500 square feet that they'll pay, 75% of ARV on. And you know exactly what you're looking for, and you know exactly who your end buyer is. Everybody wants to go find the deals. What are you looking for? Like, identify your target first. Good. We kind of touched on a lot of this, I think, already. Good. Let's skip through this one.
I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
So, like your title company, your closing company, clearly you've made relationships there. Do you find that some are more open to these creative deals?
Identifying a title company that is comfortable with wholesale is big. I would next to finding a buyer, I would have a good title company at hand for the event that you find an opportunity. You're not scrambling at the last minute to find a title company. There's plenty of them that will do wholesale, that'll do creative finance even. Fewer of those. But yeah, no, not every title company is going to want to close wholesale deals. So thank you for mentioning that. It's a great.
You ever do table closings?
Rarely anymore. Most of what we do is virtual now, like virtual closing, e-closing.
I close on the table all the time, not with anyone present, but just with the title company. Just because I built a relationship with a local title company that they're the quickest notary.
I think this is about pulling title, which we have had some lawsuits. You can get in and you're like, they just got too much junk in the trouble, right?
Yeah, as soon as I put a property on a contract, the first thing I do is pull title on it. I want to know what's going on. I always ask the seller to disclose any additional liens or judgments or anything, but people that are in pre-foreclosure, either maybe they don't know, or they don't even have to be in pre-foreclosure. They're just, in a bad spot. They don't want to tell you. They're ashamed or whatever. You need to know what's going to come up on the title report before the 2 days before closing. So I always pull title first thing, so I know exactly what I'm getting myself into or my buyers into.
Because even in the regular residential world, I've had closings, and then they don't pull title until closer to the end. It's always fun to be a couple of days away from closing. They're like, oh, there's a $70,000 lien, and the husband, and some surprise, it's on there, and the wife doesn't know.
Oh, maybe the wife had a surprise.
In this case, it was the husband had a surprise.
In my world, it's a little bit different because it's almost 50-50 for me, because I can go through the process of, and then I'm talking in double close, but essentially wholesaling. I can go through the process of trying to find an end buyer, spend employee time trying to find that, marketing costs, all these things to sell the property on the back end, only to take it to title and find out there's an IRS judgment on it. And then I'm stuck having to pay for my employees' time, title costs, and all these things. Or I can do that on the front end and just pay for title costs and title search and abstractor. So you kind of make that call whether you think the seller is being honest. I don't have a good answer for that. I've been burned several times.
I do it a lot though, even in regular residential. I pull title a lot. I share some title companies on.
That helps. That helps.
That cost of full time.
$100. I'll do it even if I don't have a property under contract. Sometimes I'll do it to know what I'm getting myself into ahead of time, because it's $100. It's a good opportunity. I'm like, let's get the title going. That's good.
pay them up.
Really? Well, it costs us $100.
What's the turnaround time on that?
I get it a day.
I can usually get them in a couple days, a day. I think the one we sold was within 24 hours.
Yeah, and I do a lot of estate and divorce sales, so I almost have to. I mean, I'm getting ready to close on one of my lines. And her husband had died in 2007. She's like, I had to sell another property in the state, and I had to do all this stuff. I was like, and the GIS was wrong. It was showing it like 2 lots. So I was like, oh, let's just file. I mean, I get it back in the day. And it was a wee bit of a mess, but I got it all worked out. But I'm glad I did that on the front end. You didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. Cool. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what would you learn at the next steps?
Anybody have any other questions around today's topic? I know we kind of touched on a lot of different aspects, and I think in the future weeks we'll kind of dive into some other things.
I have a question for Luke. So you specialize in wholesaling land. What's the draw and appeal to doing that versus like houses or commercial or stuff like that?
Probably a topic for another day, or we can chat after. But when you open a wall, what are you going to find in your house? Whereas I don't have walls. So.
He doesn't want to tell you his secrets.
It's easier.
There's just less of them. A lot of things that can go wrong. Installed in the last like
But for just saying, I mean, I can add something because I didn't know that it might or might not, you know?
Oh,
but
you can read soil reports. There's free soil reports. So you learn what type of dirt is beneath the ground, and you can get a really good idea. But having good soil scientists, it's like $500, $600 per per. And when you do enough, they can get you in really quickly. So, and that's just for a feasibility layer. That's not for the full filed, platted drain field. But typically, in my experience, that's enough to sell for later.
You know, I think we talked about before, which I've been pushing. I'm part of the Builders Association, and they're pushing for the well setback.
If you can get that,
we're doing
that's
it.
like a gold mine.
We're working on it. So in Warren County, it's 100 feet, but the state is only 50.
Yeah.
State.
I think Clark
So-
County is 50 or 100 feet too.
But like Rapp and Frederick, they're all 50. So our previous administrator was just like, "Oh, this holidays, we always get it," and I'm like, yeah, "They just want money. They want application." But I know we're really pushing for that 50-foot setback, so we'll open up a lot of lots. And we have a ton of lots here that are absentee owners.
I won't look at a lot locally. Page County, Shenandoah County, Warren County, and Greene County. Pretty much anything along the I-81 corridor, unless it's more than an acre for that exact reason.
Yeah.
It's too much of a pain to find a perk site, and if it doesn't perk, and it perks alternative, well then you have to go through another layer of selling that property, because then you have to explain, okay, it's an alternative system, it's not as bad as like or as it used to be, but it's
Then we're bringing the alternative at this point.
absolutely. And alternative's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
So we appreciate you. Luke is also one of our great sponsors, so we want to give a shout out to him, and to Gage and Amber that was here, and Timberworks, and who am I forgetting? Our sponsors. There is. Who is it?
That's terrible.
Is it Carl or something?
Oh yeah, Jen.
Jen's not here.
She's our other wholesaler too. She'll be in to talk some other wholesaling topic in the coming weeks. But.
Yeah, and I helped Jen with the property. And going back to what we paid for it, we had to get a second appraisal. And ironically enough, the appraiser was like, they paid $75,000 for this property. I'm like, oh, doesn't matter.
Oh, they do. And title companies too can. Title companies can ruin your deal too.
Yeah.
So, good ones.
This is how you can find us. We have a great Facebook group. And you can watch our playbacks. We are trying to amp up our technologies. We're trying to get someone to record and help us edit and do reels, because Mike and I are in our cars all day.
Can I do my giveaway?
Yeah.
All right. So I went to a meetup and they did this once and it was really fun. So I have a couple of goodies, books, and hats. Who has done the most marketing in the last week? Sent out the most letters, text messages, calls, whatever. Who do you think has done the most? Raise your hand if you've done any. Okay, you guys don't count. All right, what's your metric here?
I've been pretty lazy in the beginning of this year. I've made probably 10 phone calls this year.
All right, 10 phone calls. That's the limit. Going once.
Yeah.
Say it.
I mean, I made like 50 calls today.
All right. 50 calls. What do you got? Sit in this one.
That's my biggest model is contacting canceled, expired, submit drugs.
All right, well, what do you got? Tell us.
A lot. Like 3 or 4 hours sessions.
Of cold calling or? Okay, cold calling is popular. All right. Anybody else?
It sucks, but
Who sent out the most? How many texts have you got?
This week I like 4.
It's not bad.
It depends on my motivation.
You gotta be. I know you do.
Just door hangers for me.
Okay, that's good. How many door hangers?
See, my daughter counted 100 too.
well, that's a lot of deep water. I
feel like you, man.
Yeah.
That was gonna be one of my points too. Is like, if you want to be a wholesaler, that's really what it takes. Is the most effort because that's the most personal thing you can do. I'm sending out text messages. That's
Well, I've got kids. I have to wear them out.
Yeah.
Activity trumps
So
You send them out. Each one of them does 100.
extreme ownership. All right. All right. Who has put the most deals under contract this month?
I'm not in it,
No,
but
you're
I
not
want to
counting.
say I have a business coach. So my goal for the first quarter was 15 ratified contracts, and today I've already hit 10.
For the first month?
For the first quarter.
Oh, first quarter.
So it's 15 ratified contracts for the first quarter, and I hit 10 already for the first quarter. And I got a little bit of time left yet. So.
Who can beat that? No
7.
contract?
I have 7 this month.
7 contracts?
What, I mean, they're under contract and pretty much.
Contract count.
Mr. Gage and Mike and things that.
Like probably 40% of my contracts fall out. So, it's a good metric, but
Yeah.
I'm sending out about 2,500 messages a day, text messages a day. I'm calling anywhere between 200 and 300 people a day. Our team, it's not me. Right. I have a third-party call center. We use Launch Control, which is a texting platform. And I send about 15,000 pieces of mail a month. Has anybody gotten one of my mailers?
I actually haven't, which is odd.
Okay. Do you own a lot of vacant land?
No, but I get a lot of land people.
Okay. I've talked to like 3 people in the past couple weeks that have gotten one of mine.
In my business, I know you guys are making a lot of calls. I'm more of a delegate person.
Yeah, and that's so much more valuable.
My business, like I told him I gotta leave this week, but my business is come from business owners. So I'm actually going to be in Vegas in a week. I'll be sitting on a panel at our big Keller Williams event, and it's called Handshakes Over Hashtags. So I've built my business. I go to a lot of networking events. You ask my kids that, it was always somewhere. And it's just making those business relationships. And I read a book a couple of years ago. It's called The 7 Levels of Communication. I mean, we all like to eat, but going somewhere and they already know what you want to drink, they already know what you want to eat, you already know the servers, and you're just meeting people. I mean, we had that little great pop-up in Winchester last week, and I had another meeting before that, and someone texted me, they're like, are you just at a century? And I'm like, I'm just going to stack it up because it's really...
Put it on grid so you can expense it.
Right. But it's those relationships, and that's why I feel like being in the room is so important, because we make those relationships with each other as business owners. It's deals.
And I just like strictly, how much does your team do in revenue?
My goal this year is a little over $1 million in net profits to my business, meaning net of brokers' fees, and not net of taxes, not net of employees or expenses, but that's my goal. We did a little less than that last year and the year.
And if that was retail, how would that work out?
Most of my end buyers are retail.
But if you were to retail yourself, take it all the way to the finish line.
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's too much work. Because then if I
the money leave on the table, though.
I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. But if I were to,
How much time are you taking that?
yeah, because I don't like to have a lot of employees. Like I really hate it, and I'm not a good boss.
But all that work you did to get that deal at that price at that time, you feel it's okay just to so
I do because, and I don't want to turn this into like land specifics, but
that's why you're here.
yeah, our land deals are not nearly as hard to find as house deals.
God's not making more land.
Not making any more land, and there's a lot of people that own it, inherit it, have it, that don't want it. So, you were just telling us about this.
Yeah, these people bought and they're like, we have these lots that our parents left us. They were like, we don't even, it's like on the river. We don't.
I want to set
It's
aside
like
for
on the river. It's just like on the river. We don't go there. Like, we just want to sell it. Okay.
My average acquisition cost is about 40 to 48 cents on the dollar of market value. And then you add in brokerage fees, any sort of value add costs, like, what we were talking about, perk tests, value add stuff. We're all in with closing costs, 55 cents on the dollar. So there's just a lot of deals where it's not worth it to me to be my own agent right now.
Anything else?
I think we should wrap it up. Network.
You guys, there's a bar here. They can make you pretty much anything you want. There's coffee and lattes, gluten free. There's pizzas. They have gluten free pizzas. So
Yeah.
please network, enjoy.
Thank you everybody for coming out. Encourage you guys to tell people about what we're doing here and bring people with you. Be active in our group, and we're trying to. I feel like we lost a little bit of steam over the last couple of months, so we want to pick it back up, and we're going to try and do some more things, like Amanda said, like the pop-up thing where we're not just meeting once a month. Like, we want to be.
Shenandoah Valley's.
It is big. So try and cover some territory, but also like we don't want it to just be once a month thing. Like, we want to be able to communicate with you guys regularly and see you guys and do business together. So,
Where did you guys advertise that pop-up? I didn't see.
It just went.
It was like the day of,
Oh,
like, I think we sent out an email and maybe posted on
Really
Facebook.
just for Pam. I had another agent who
We were
was like doing a subject too. He's from another company, and I was like, oh, we'll just meet. And I'd gone and
Yeah.
Pam. I was like, oh, we'll just do a pop-up.
It was very much a last minute thing, but we were talking about, we're like, we should do this more. So we want to do it more and, come to. Sure, Harrisonburg. I was thinking like more the other way.
Oh, just kidding. Other ways too.
But thank you all for coming. Good to see everybody. Spend some time, meet some people. We're all here for that piece. So we'll end it on that note. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Are you the owner?
That's my son, Luke.
No,
That's my son.
yeah. Yeah,